Working with Bobby Fairways and Joey Cold Cuts. Tonight we have a very special guest who is going to speak about being the first official Breezy Golf Athlete or Ambassador. So stick around. This is a great episode of the Golf Clan. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Dougie. Welcome to the Golf Clan, your home for YouTube golf news. Let's go ahead and welcome in our special guest. All right, welcome to the Golf Clan show. We have a very special guest today. I want to kick it over to Mikey V. Mikey, if you don't mind just quickly introducing yourself for the viewers, that would be awesome.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Mikey V here, also known as Bear Down Cuz across the interwebs. Good to be here. I got to be honest, I may not live up to the hype because this is a golf channel and I'm the furthest thing away from a golfer. I don't claim to be a golfer, so don't put that bad juju on me because I don't proclaim myself to be a golfer. I'm just a guy with a set of clubs looking to get out there every once in a while when I can. So. Trying to begin the journey of golf, very arduous journey, very trying journey, both on the mind and patience, but it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So speaking of living up to the hype, the thumbnail for this video may have led some people clicking onto this to think that they were going to hear from Paige Spiranak. And so I hate to disappoint you if you clicked on this thinking that I was interviewing Paige, but hey, you're going to stick around and you're going to hear from the voice of the voiceless himself, the co-host of the Brilliantly Dumb podcast, and the newest Breezy Golf, or the first Breezy Golf Athlete Ambassador. So stick around, get comfortable. We do have a very good conversation with Mikey V. Mikey, if you don't mind just talking to us about how you first got connected with Brilliantly Dumb, Robby Berger, kind of how did that come to be?
Sure. So, it all started over COVID. When COVID first hit, I didn't even know who Bob was, right? And so originally my page on Instagram was, I started back in like 2016, I want to say, or 2017, sometime around there. And it was primarily just a Bears account where I was just doing Chicago Bears stuff, news, pictures, videos. I didn't even have my face out there, nothing like that, up until right before COVID. And then I started doing a show with some former players, Alex Brown and Brian Urlacher, things like that. And we just got connected through, just mutual people through the Bears. And then COVID hit, and, everyone's looking for something to do during COVID. I was working from home for the first time ever in my life. I'd never worked from home. I had never been a laptop guy, a computer guy. I was always on-site manual labor, or, had to be at work all the time. So a couple of my buddies were telling me about this happy hour that Bob was running on Patreon. And it was like a pay service. So, yeah, it was behind a paywall. And I think it was like $4.99 a month or $9.99 a month, something like that. So, COVID, you can only watch reruns of Cheers so many times, every single night before you start losing your mind a little bit. So I was like, you know what? Let me give this a whirl and just see what it's all about. I checked out Bob's page. I thought he was very funny. I found out he was from Jersey, obviously. And I went on the Patreon happy hour and, ran into all these different characters on there like Joe and Perez. And we have this, OG type of crew from the beginning of COVID. And, Bob during these happy hours would just basically give the floor to anybody. To anybody who was in there, he would give the mic over to and, on a Zoom call format. And he would give you the mic and, you could just talk or do whatever and say whatever, ask whatever questions. And I guess, my background with sports. At the time, Jersey Jerry was still over with Bob doing the podcast, somewhat regular basis. And Bob hit me up on the side after we had run the show a couple times, and he was like, listen, he's like, I really think something between us could work. He's like, I'd love to have you on as a spot for 10, 15 minutes every podcast to do some sports gambling picks. This was when Jerry was about to sign over with Barstool. And, for me, it was like, absolutely, I knew Bob, obviously had a pretty large following. I thought the exposure would be good. Bob seemed like a really good guy from the early onset. But, in the internet world, you always got to, you always got to be a little extra careful before you really trust people. I mean, because there's a million people out there that'll promise you a million things. But Bob is one of the Bob, for his age, and I tell him this all the time, is so beyond his years. And people see him online and they see the joking around and they see this and they see that. But for him to be doing what he's doing and for him to follow through on so many of the things he had promised he was going to follow through on, that's where it all started. And 10-minute, 15-minute spots for gambling picks turned into, he was like, you know what, I want to run the full pod with you every week. And then, we incorporated Joe in. And, that was very successful because people love when me and Joe just go at it. And that's more often than not every episode almost. So, but that's how the genesis of the whole thing started, really. And it's been pretty wild ride since then.
So what did you end up kind of saying if you took the floor in these Patreon happy hours and kind of caught the eye of Bob? Were you just talking about sports? Were you just making jokes? How did you kind of get on his radar that way?
Yeah, listen, so it's weird, right? Because, I don't purport myself to be a comedian of any kind or comedic content any kind. I really just genuinely just try and just put exactly who I am out there. And, my rants and stuff, and when I go off on, little things like, a cup of, I'm upset with the price of a cup of coffee, or I'm upset with the service from a certain company, or I'm upset about the Bears for the way they played, or I'm upset about this team the way they play. That's just genuinely the way I react to things. I'm Italian from North Jersey. I know I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'7". So I project very loudly when I talk. Like I'm one of those people. I try to remain as classy as I possibly can, but I know I'm loud. I know I get boisterous at times. But I think during the Patreon happy hours, I was just kind of just bullshitting about anything. And there were times that, I would just kind of give little snippet analysis of other people's commentary in the happy hour. Somebody would say something and I would say, Bob, it kind of sounds like this, that, and the other thing. And that was just having fun. That was what that was all about. The happy hour was just truly all about having fun. And I guess, Bob was, very much about it. And I think he was trying to build out, his own kind of, content arena. And he knew he needed some guys, especially with Jerry departing. And, it's amazing. Me and Perez were just happy hour guys. It's the same story for FP. We were just two guys in that virtual happy hour. And now it's metamorphosized into, I believe it's metamorphosized into an incredible opportunity for all of us to be able to work together and to be able to joke around and have the kind of fun that we have when we're at these events together. And, it's very lucky to make genuine friends in a situation like that, given the fact that those type of things, they pop up here and there all the time. And very rarely does it turn into anything, truly meaningful. But, that's the way it went. And the rest is history at this point.
So I want to just jump in here if you are viewing into this and kind of make a connection between this situation and another, just in the sense of within the YouTube golf space, I would say the two people that have the best skill set at finding and kind of predicting future stars would be Robby Berger, one, and then Garrett Clark, GM Golf, has a similar thing in that he will find people and kind of bring them into his fold, and next thing you know, they have their own channels, their own successful avenues. And so for you to have been kind of hand-plucked from Robby Berger obviously says a lot about you, because I'm sure there were a lot of other people on that Patreon call who would have wanted a similar opportunity. So do you ever does it ever make you stop and think look where I am now versus kind of the first time I called into that happy hour show? Does that ever cross your mind how far you've kind of come?
Yeah, it definitely does. It's a little awkward to talk about. It's a little weird to think about because, honestly, I truly mean this. I was just going on that to just do something and I was never looking for any of this. And I think people need to understand that. I think a lot of times, in life, and I'm just speaking as, I'm an older guy, I'm almost 40 years old. I have 2 kids. I have a house. I have a full-time job that I've been at the same job for 15 years. And, I think people sometimes try and force their hand and they try and force things to happen. And truly, I think the key to everything is just finding that niche of what you love to do or something that you really like to do, and working at it and continuing to do it over and over and just letting the opportunities come to you, because this was honestly never a premeditated plan. This was never, something where when I first linked up with Bob that I ever thought would get to the point that it's at now. Especially for these other guys who, have gone full-time with this, like Joe and Perez and Jet and Ticket. For guys like that, for me, it was kind of, I'm in a different position, right, than a lot of those other guys, like married with the kids again. And, Perez is married, but, the only one out of the group with kids, the only one out of the group that's been in the same job for a long, long time like that. So for me, it's kind of like, I just look at it and I just think about how lucky I am. Like, I don't want to say it's all luck, because I do put in a lot of work. Like, I work basically, it's like I have 2 full-time jobs now. And my wife tells me all the time, you really got to take some time. You got to relax. But that's just not my nature. When I love something, when I do something, I go all the way and I do it all the way. And I don't think you could be successful in this life without doing that. That's just the way I was raised. I've been working since I'm 14 years old. But to me, this kind of stuff is not work. Does it sometimes get annoying, like every single night I'm doing something after I'm coming home from a long day at work and like I can't just plop down on the couch and just vegetate? Sometimes, yeah, it does. But in the grand scheme of things, like I just think about how lucky I am to, number one, have met Bob. Number two, been given the opportunities that I've been given, a lot of which came through Bob. And 3, honestly, to have had, if I had not made the page that I had made all those years ago when I first started, because when I met Bob, I had, a decent following. I had about 40,000, 45,000 followers on Instagram. Obviously, that's gone up significantly in a short amount of time, a lot due to, cross contamination, I like to call it, across all our different accounts and stuff. But I'm glad I built that also, because I think that legitimized kind of what I was doing. It wasn't like I was just a guy who was coming into the space and claiming to be this sports guy. Like, there was validity to it. Like I said, I had interviewed some, pretty prominent athletes, some pretty decent interviews I had done and things I had done. So I'm grateful that I stuck with that and didn't give that up, because I see these pages pop up all the time. And they pop up and then you look at them and there's been no activity for 3 years. So I'm glad I stuck that out, because if I hadn't, I don't think I would be where I'm at now with this opportunity with all these guys and how blessed I am to be doing it. And again, I do consider myself I do think a lot of it is blind luck and just opportunity and right place at the right time. And I was, and again, I would just say to everybody not to force it and just to continue to grind and find your passion. And if you find something that you really love doing, that old cliche of you don't work a day in your life, I don't know if that's 100% true, but it definitely makes it a lot easier and a lot more rewarding at the end.
Very well said. My question for you is just, how are you able to take on so much? You kind of alluded to that, like having 2 full-time things, working kind of nonstop. But I mean, you're posting, for people that maybe aren't following your pages, you share your Peloton workouts. I mean, you must be in the top 1% of Peloton riders.
No, I was up there, man, but I haven't ridden consistently in a long time. Once the gyms opened back up and I wasn't riding the bike 5 days a week, like, my rides are still good metric wise, but I was cooking with gas at one point. I was up there. Now I've fallen off a little bit, but it is what it is.
So you're a workout machine. You win food challenges just for fun. You're doing multiple podcasts. I mean, you are talking about sports nonstop. I mean, how do you, like, what's the secret to that, making that all continue running, being a husband, being a father, having all that going at the same time?
The secret, honestly, for me, bro, is the secret for me, and I don't know how many people out there are going to hear this and they're going to be like, holy shit, that's me. I'm the type of person that, if I have idle time, it's just not good for me. Mentally, it's not good for me. situationally, it's not good for me. If I have too much downtime where I don't have things going, I'm a person who needs structure. I'm a person who needs routine. And I'm a person who needs to be going all the time. Like, yes, don't get me wrong. I have my days and I have my moments where I could go, 2-3 days where I don't do. I could do it like over Christmas usually is like, that's always a week like between Christmas and New Year's, like where I really try and I don't do nothing. But the anxiety I get from doing that is like crippling. I need to be doing something all the time. For me, it just makes things a lot clearer. I operate and function a lot better as a husband, as a father, at least I think I do, and as a person in general. So like the workouts, waking up, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym 5 days a week, having that structure, then going to work, then coming home. All of that like pieces together for me and keeps me on track where I don't have time to make any bad mistakes, or I can minimize my bad life choices, I should say. I just try and stay as busy as I possibly can. I want to, earn as much as I possibly can for my family. That's always been a big thing for me, for my family, never have to worry about anything, which is just an ownership thing. And that may be very archaic. It may be very, it may be very, cliche that I want to be the breadwinner, but that's just honestly, that's just the way I was raised. And that's the way that I feel like I'm obligated to provide the best possible life for my kids and my family. And that's what keeps me going, man. Really, like, yes, do I listen, I would be lying to you if I said I don't enjoy the out of like when we go to the Breezy Invitationals, which we got one next weekend in Chicago. I'm super excited for it. I'd be lying to you if of course it's awesome, but all the fun stuff that everyone sees on the internet, like, just realize every day is a grind. Like every day is a grind, but I live for the grind. I love that because there is nothing more fulfilling than finishing out a day strong where you checked off every box on your to-do list. I got up, I worked out, I went to work, I came home, did a podcast, got the kids bathed, got the kids in bed, got them showered, read them a bedtime story, got them to just that to me, like, that's what I need. Now, many people, I don't know if everyone's like that, but to me, I'm a guy who needs to check the boxes off and I need to be structured in a routine. Otherwise, like, I'll fall apart. I just need that structure, and I just don't like to stop. I know it's crazy, and it definitely is inducing stress. I mean, obviously, I've gone bald over the last couple of years, but it's just I wouldn't want to do it any other way. I couldn't see myself doing it any other way.
Yeah, well, I would say you're going bald because of watching the Bears, but that's I would be going gray if I had any. The hairs that I would have left, they would all be gray watching them. But yeah, they're terrible. So you mentioned Breezy Invitational. I want to talk about the recent announcement of you being an ambassador, an athlete for Breezy Golf. Can you maybe talk to us about kind of how that came to be and the significance of that signing?
Sure. So, obviously, I was with Roback prior, and nothing but great things to say about those guys. Some of the most fantastic people you'll ever meet in your entire life, the people that work over at Roback. Just, I mean, when you talk about quality, top-notch human beings, like a family. The Breezy stuff came about, obviously, because, that was the direction this whole thing was going in, right? And with the Bob Does Sports and being under, the Doing Things Media umbrella, Breezy being under the Doing Things Media umbrella, a lot of these pages that you probably people follow and don't even realize are under the Doing Things Media umbrella. I had met, several people high up at that media company, through Bob and at the events that we had gone to. And I spoke with them, and, they were very accommodating. They were also very friendly. They, right off the bat, very much, wanted to be involved, wanted to know more, wanted to, get in talks and see what we could work out. And, it was just kind of, it happened pretty organically, I would say. It wasn't another thing that wasn't forced, right? It wasn't forced, like, because Bob Does Sports has been around for over a year now, a little over a year. Breezy's been around for over a year. So it wasn't like right off the bat, like, we got to get you involved, we got to do this. It was a gradual entrance into that space. It means a ton to me, especially the fact that everybody who knows me, that I cannot purport myself to be a golfer. I cannot and I will not Let me reiterate that. But yeah, just to be in the space and to show universally, I think, from the company side of it, from Breezy side of it, that, you know, you don't have to be a guy that's on the golf course every single day to enjoy the kind of quality items that Breezy produces. You don't have to be, you know, a scratch golfer. You don't have to have a low handicap. And again, you know, like I said, you don't have to be someone who's retired out on the golf course every day. You could just be, you know, a guy who likes to get out there when they could get out there, guy who likes to wear certain types of clothing, hats, you know, all that. And we're expanding rapidly. Again, this company is in its infancy, and I see so much room for growth. And they're certainly going to capitalize on all that growth. And now to pull in a guy like Nicky Smiggs and to have him under the umbrella, another guy who was in the happy hour mixing it up. Nicky obviously had his background in stand-up comedy a little bit already. He was already pretty well established as well. But to bring in someone like that, and now you have him, and Joe just announced that he's over officially now, moving over from Sunday Swagger to Breezy. Like, it's all coming together very, very nicely to put us all under this same umbrella. And this is kind of what we had dreamed about and talked about at the beginning of COVID, and to see it all kind of come to fruition, and to know that we're all going to be there next weekend together. And the first time that we're all officially under the umbrella, we were all in New York for the last one, but now that we're all really together under the same umbrella, it really is such a special opportunity, really. It is, and it's awesome. And you know, I nobody to thank but the people at Doing Things in Breezy for thinking of me, and especially bringing me on as the first one. I thought that was like a major honor for me, and a very humbling experience, and couldn't be happier where I'm at.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing some of that context. So for Breezy Golf, is the kind of the future to continue adding on some of these personalities that maybe not the straight up golf YouTube type of persona like the Bob Does Sports guys, to kind of penetrate into the wider social media stratosphere? Is that fair to say?
You know, I don't want to speak for their marketing, you know, their marketing people, or how their strategic marketing people, because I honestly don't know. But what I can tell you is that I think their CEO in particular is a visionary, and I think he knows that. And I've spoken to him about it, that there is so much opportunity for growth outside of the game of golf, that it doesn't have to be specifically only, you know, marketed towards one type of person. Yes, it's Breezy Golf. Golf is at the forefront. We all know that. But, you know, I think you're going to see a lot of things down the pipeline that are going to be very good for people like myself. And I'm the prime example of it, because, you know, athletic gear, athletic t-shirts, shorts, entering that arena into the, you know, the workout space as well. Because, you know, I think a lot of the modern golfers, I think you see some of these guys, like, these guys are putting in time in the gym as well. It's not just all time out on the course. It's not, you know, the days of just seeing like a guy like John Daly, and John Daly's one of my favorite all-time. I love John Daly. But, like, there's a lot of guys who put in the hours on the other end, too, in the gym. And, you know, I think we would. There's no way that that Breezy would be ignorant to that fact. And again, in our infancy and expanding rapidly, and hopefully appealing to every type of person out there, which is the ultimate end game and the goal.
What are the quality of the Breezy items? I've never tried out some of their apparel. You just got sent some. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the material, what to expect out of that.
So this hat, I mean, I've been wearing this hat every day since they sent it to me. And it's not that I don't like the other hats. I do. But they call this like a surfer hat. And the material is not like anything that I've really worn before. It's like a windbreaker nylon almost, which is what I could put it. My head sweats excessively. This hat is extremely breathable for me, so I love wearing it. I'm a big hat guy. So to me, hats are like a very important item. So these are great. Their bucket hats are tremendous. The polos are as top-notch quality as you could get in terms, in my opinion, of design. The collars are maintained very well. Special care-wise, there's not really much you got to do with it other than I always wash everything polo-wise inside out. Button the top button when you put it away. I'm pretty meticulous with the way I take care of stuff, but high quality items. The new embroidered flag logo on the chest is really nice, the way they did that, and the material that it's made out of. I just think it's packaged very, very well. It presents very, very well. And, these items, again, you're spending good amount of money on these things. Like, you want it to be a quality item. And I absolutely would say that it is. And, again, the hoodies, I haven't even gotten the opportunity to do the hoodies or quarter zips yet because we're not in that season yet. And obviously, again, all the restocks and the new drops that are coming out soon will incorporate all that. But yeah, again, a big opportunity for them to expand, being that they are such a newer company. I just think that the sky is the limit for them because the quality, certainly from what I've seen so far, is definitely there.
And what are the Breezy Invitationals like? I mean, we see a little bit of stories on Instagram occasionally, but having been to the New York one, tell us about, what those experiences are like.
So it's just an all-day party. I mean, you get there at 9 o'clock in the morning. Number one, they put out a tremendous spread. Because, again, you're spending, people are going to these events. They're spending their hard-earned money. Nobody's ignorant to that. So they really do a great job of not only they give you, a welcome grab bag with, a polo in it and everything else they put in it, a towel, a hat. I forget. But they give you a really nice grab bag to start. They give you a huge breakfast spread when you arrive there, at least in New York. The timing of it, they did 9 o'clock start or 9:30 start. There was a huge breakfast spread. All you could drink all day long. All the Breezy girls, bringing drinks around, bringing food around. The entire day. The golfing aspect of it, they have all these long drive competition closest to the pin, obviously. All the different holes that you stop at, there may be, Grill Guy is at one hole. Nikki Smiggs may be at another hole. Myself and my buddy Nick hosted a hole. Perez, Bob, and Joe will be at a hole. Jet and Ticket will be at a hole. So, it's a good opportunity for everybody to mix it up with everybody. And everybody's just out having a good time. I mean, it's definitely an all-day marathon event, so you got to pace yourself, that's for sure. But really, really a cool experience. I'm really looking forward to the Chicago one. It should be great. The New York one, we were worried about the weather a little bit because it was during that the wildfires from Canada where all the crazy hazy sky was coming down, but we got lucky. It blew out just in time for that one. But yeah, it's an all day party. I mean, it's an all day party. The golf, I would say, is secondary to the event itself. But definitely still an opportunity for guys to play a nice course because that course we were at in New York was really nice. That's what everyone was telling me. I only stayed at one hole, but just a really good opportunity to mix it up with everyone also, which is always good.
For sure. And can you kind of give people a preview of the Chicago weekend and kind of what to expect maybe from the content coming out of that weekend? Yeah,
so we actually have our meeting this Thursday to discuss the whole itinerary for the weekend, but the Thursday night is the pre-party, welcome party. To the event itself, which I think anyone who bought tickets is invited to that. They were told about that. That'll be a great time because that's just cocktails and hanging out and joking, and everyone has a great time at that. And then the day of the event, I mean, content wise, it should be a content smorgasbord. I know you're gonna have me there, Nikki, obviously the Bob Does Sports guys. That's default. I do think that there's going to be some surprises. I think there's going to be some surprises there in terms of guests, and it may be someone that this channel may be interested in being your opening monologue. It could be interesting. I'm not going to go into detail, but I do believe there's going to be some special guests there, so that should be really cool. And then Friday will be it'll be an all-day marathon. And we'll try to pump out as much content as we possibly can, and that's what everybody loves. And there'll be Instagram lives. I'm sure there'll be from everyone's page flying, the Bob Does Sports page, my page, Bob's, Joe's, everyone. So it'll be a really, really good time, I think, for everybody.
No food challenges from you. You're still taking a break, letting your gut recover.
I'm supposed to do 12 donuts in under 5 minutes. Which,
oh, wow.
Yeah, we're just kicking around what day we want to do it, because if I do it the day of the Breezy, my day is going to be entirely ruined. If I do it the Thursday night, That's going to be tough too because I'll just have to go back to the hotel and go to sleep. I won't be able to hang out. So we're just trying to debate when would be the best time to do it. But yeah, you're likely to see a donut challenge from me at some point that weekend.
Are we talking about glaze, like normal
I think
size,
we're
Krispy
gonna
Kreme donuts, or
a
what?
dozen Krispy Kremes. I think is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. That should be entertaining. Maybe another live coming on your Instagram.
Yeah, most likely.
What is it like? People viewing may wonder, I mean, being a co-host of the Brilliantly Dumb Show, what is it like to work with Cutsy and Bob? I mean, we get to see the final podcast and all that humor back and forth, but like week to week, I mean, what is it like living in these guys' worlds? I mean, they're hilarious, but they're also kind of nutcases, and that's why they're so entertaining.
It's organized chaos. That's the best way I could put it. It's organized chaos. There is no itinerary. There is no structured plan. There's the idea that we all know that Monday is usually our recording day for the show. But a lot of times on Saturday, we'll get the message and we'll start kicking it around in our group chat of when we can record and when do you want to record. The top fives are usually brought up maybe the morning of the day we're going to record to discuss what we're going to do for top five. There's very often arguments back and forth about why the top five that's recommended is good or not good. There's just a ton. You know what it is honestly the banter that you hear on the show and how we talk on the show is pretty much the exact same way we discuss everything in our group chats. I mean, there are some zingers, and I mean, Bob will tell you, when you get a group chat going with me and Perez, especially, and Perez obviously is not involved on the Brilliantly Dumb Pod side, but when me and Perez get going in a group chat, man, it is something to behold and to keep up with. And then Joe, you know, me and Joe just go at it. Me and Joe just go at it all the time. But it's all out of love for sure. And working with them is hysterical. There's always something that throws a hiccup or a wrench into the operation, inevitably, whether it's Bob's Wi-Fi, whether it's Joe's, you know, manicure schedule or whatever he's got going on for himself, his dog hotel schedule, whatever he's got going on. But at the end of the day, we make it work because we do know that our following is one of the most faithful, loyal, followings on Instagram. They remember. It never ceases to amaze me the references that some of the people make in the comment sections and things like that. They'll reference back to a pod from like a year and a half ago, and I'm just like, that's incredible that they remember that. Like, that just shows how diehard loyal our following is and our fan base is, and we just like. We love that, and we want to just keep churning out as much quality content as we can, and we do feel very obligated. That's why if we ever miss a pod or something like that, like, you could rest assured it's for a very good reason. Like, there's something that either flights aren't getting connected, flights got canceled, or, you know, I have an emergency pop up with my family or something like that, because we know how much people want to get the pods out there and the content out there, and we don't like to disappoint. We don't like to disappoint, and we're very harsh critics on ourselves. Like, Bob is good for every post pod recording. He'll send a message to me and Joe and give his honest opinion about, you know, that wasn't one of our best. That was one of our best. And that's good, because, you know, you can't just after every show pat yourself on the back and say, oh, this is good enough. You know, we did it. It's fine. Like, we're very harsh critics about that and very transparent about that. We don't shy away from that. If it was a stinker, we'll flat out say we think it's going to be a stinker. Sometimes we gauge it right. Sometimes we gauge it wrong. And sometimes the audience reacts in a way we didn't think they would, in a positive way, and sometimes in a negative way. But we're not, we don't shy away from that. So it's good to have that reality check on the back end as well.
For sure. Where did your Joey Cold Cuts impersonations come from? And are you surprised by maybe how popular those are?
I'm extremely surprised how popular they are. I was just doing it because it comes to a point where you speak to these guys so often. Like, you know, I'm talking to Bob and Joe every day, recording at least one piece of content with them every week. And you're talking to them, you know, an hour every week, but that's just on the show. So I don't even know what the origin of it was. I think it was just really the way he said today. That was the first thing that, like, I really just, like, he kept saying it, and I was just like, I just can't let this go anymore. I have to do something. And then, you know, obviously I bought the wig, and people love the wig, and, you know, the videos of... He just does... Here's the thing about Joe. Joe is terrific. I love him to death. But he does get, he gives you, he spoon feeds you content. He could serve up content on a silver platter for imitation stuff. And just because of how, you know, how distinct his laugh is, how distinct his accent is, the stuff that he does, like, it's so easy to imitate and just have fun with it. And I think that's what it was. But yeah, I didn't ever think that people would, like, go wild for it like that. Because quite honestly, like, listen, I like doing the imitations every once in a while. Like, they're good, and I know people love them. But, like, again, I don't purport myself to be, you know, an impressionist. I don't purport myself to be Frank Caliendo. You know, like, that's not... I got some that are good and some that are just total clunkers, but Joe is obviously one that people really like. Once in a while when I do Bob, if I do Jerry. The only one I can't get is Perez. Perez is tough. Perez is, like, almost impossible. I won't even try it because I think it'll be so bad. But, yeah, that's kind of just really just listening to him so much.
Yeah, no, I really like those, and I'm hoping to see a future one. I was getting caught up on the podcast today, and I'd love to hear a future one where you just kind of drop in Hokkaido snow beef. I thought that was ridiculous.
Well, that's his middle name is ridiculous. So people think it's Peter. Yeah. It's actually ridiculous.
Continue doing the impersonations. How about you getting the golf bug? I mean, you've said a few times you're not a golfer, but you're, you know, working with the Bob Does Sports crew. But we've seen a little bit of updates on Instagram. You getting clubs, maybe taking a lesson here and there. Where are you in your golf journey? And is that ever going to make its way onto the Bob Does Sports page, or are you ever going to make kind of golf content on the internet?
So, I mean, I think eventually I would probably end up doing something on the Bob Does Sports side at some point. Again, we're letting that happen organically. We're not forcing that. My short game is good. My short game is good, putter-wise. I could putt. I could read a green. I was with, actually, for the first time ever in my life, I played with a caddy 2 weeks ago, and I made a couple two putts where he looked at me, and I know he was serious because he was telling me when I was terrible, and I know when I'm terrible, and that's off the tee box. I'm terrible. And I know he wasn't pulling my leg. I made a couple two putts. He's like, listen, he's like, tour pros would be happy with that two putt you just made. He said that to me a couple times. So that happened to me like twice during my round, which was good. So putting is not an issue. Reading greens, I could hit the wedge a little bit, but man, oh man, getting off that tee box is just a nightmare for me. Iron game is like not where I need it to be. But, you know, if I get out like once a month, like, that's a lot for me. So I just finished my yard. My wife bought me a net for Father's Day, which I haven't set up yet because the yard was under construction. Really, I had to rip the whole yard out. So I'm looking forward to get the net set up. I don't mind playing in the colder months because when I started golfing was back in late February, early March. So I was going out in March, and I don't mind that at all. Like, I don't mind the cold. I'll go out and hit in the cold. That doesn't bother me. So I just try to get out, you know, as much as I can. I had an outing 2 weeks ago. I got an outing coming up this coming Tuesday. So I'll be playing Tuesday, which is good. As much as I could get out there, I'll get out there, you know. But I don't like to leave my wife with the kids all the time. You know, I do feel somewhat guilty because especially during football season, I'm so locked in every Saturday and Sunday, monitoring everything because of, you know, obviously the stuff I do with the sports picks and things like that. I have to have like full attention on that. That's really what I do. Golf isn't what I do, right? Golf is a hobby that I've always wanted to try. My brother is a big golfer. Obviously, all the guys I work with on the internet love golf. So it's something that I always wanted to just try and do, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's just a matter of carving out the time.
Right. You're a guy that's stretched so thin already that adding a new sport that's probably the most expensive and time consuming is not easy to add
The
to your
time
plate.
consuming aspect is really that's the issue. 4 hours a clip. That's a tough sell.
Right.
That's why, when you saw very early on when I was doing it, I'll go out for a 6 a.m. tee time. Like that's good for me. Like if I could get a 6 a.m. tee time, that's what I'll take. 6 a.m., 6:15, 6:30. Like I can't go out at like 9. I just can't do that. I mean I can once in every great while, but I got to keep it very, very early. But, I played on vacation. But the beautiful thing about golf is that, to me anyway, like, it just puts you into another circle of hobbyists, really. Like, when I went on vacation this year, for example, I go with the same group of guys. Our families go, my wife, the kids, their wives, their kids. Every summer, same vacation. And one day a week, these guys would always go golf at Cape May National in South Jersey. And every year I would just stay with the other two guys that didn't golf on the beach with our kids, and it was great. It was fun. But I always wanted to go. I was like, I just hadn't started golfing yet. This year was the first time I got to go, and it was just great. It was just terrific. It was great to have a day to just do that and just make a little daytime thing out of it. Again, we teed off at 6:30 in the morning, so we were back on the beach by noon. And it was great. I mean, just to be able to be involved and do that and be able to go out and do that and play in some of these outings that I get invited to for work now, because I always used to get invited to them. I just never went. But now I'm going, meeting new people, having new conversations, new laughs, new connections, and that's all positive stuff. So there's a lot of good that comes out of it, but absolutely, positively the most frustrating thing I've ever done in my life. Without question, nothing even comes close. Nothing even comes close. And I've played every sport. There is nothing that comes close. And people want to tell me about hitting a baseball. Don't tell me about hitting a baseball. That's very difficult. Yes, it is. But to hit a golf ball consistently is the most difficult thing in all of sports. And I don't think it's particularly close. I really don't.
No, you're not wrong about that. And it takes so much time to get better at golf. I'm selfishly hoping to see more of you on the golf course, the more that you're joining Breezy, the more that you're doing the Brilliantly Dumb. I mean, at some point, you're going to end up being pulled into more of that stuff. So I hope that you get the golf bug and the more opportunities come your way. But I totally understand it's tough to kind of add that in there. In honor of the top 5, which for those viewers watching, if you're not yet tuned into the Brilliantly Dumb show, link down below. You should definitely tune in every week, but they have a running segment at the end of every episode where they give their top 5. I would like to maybe ask you to give your top 3. I know this is on the spot, but top 3 moments with the Bob Does Sports guys. Do any stand out hanging out with the Bob Does Sports guys, or even moments from the pod?
Yeah, definitely.
All-time favorite moments.
Number 3 would be the original Patreon meetup at my buddy's restaurant, Luna Wood Fire Tavern in Nutley, New Jersey. That was in January of 2021. 21 or 22? Either or. I think it was January of 21. I could be wrong. When did the Bengals... This is the only way I could remember it because I'm a sick person. When did the Bengals played the Raiders in a playoff game that year? It was a wild card game, whichever year that was. If it was 21 or 22, I'm sure somebody in this chat will be a Bengals or Raiders fan. They'll know. That was the first time that we ever hung out. That was the first time I ever met Bob in person. That was the first time I ever met Perez in person, Nikki Smiggs in person, Jersey Jerry. I'm sorry. I had met Bob and Jersey Jerry. They had come out in August. We hung out in August the prior year, the prior summer. But that was the first time we ever really hung out, like overnight, multiple days in a row, like did something, went out. That was a great time. That was we were gambling, watching NFL playoffs, drinking. We had all the people from the happy hour, the virtual happy hour. We announced it on the happy hour that we were having a meetup. And you wouldn't believe, bro, like people drove from... They drove from Kentucky. They drove from Pennsylvania. They drove from Virginia. Like, it was just an incredible, incredible night. We had so much fun. That would be number 3. Number 2 would probably be the original Audi Club outing for the Yankees game when Joe came out the first time, and we went to the Yankee game. We had the party bus with Perez, and that was the first time that my dearest friends from home met these guys on the party bus. And you could only imagine the way this day went, because these guys can hang. Like, the Bob Does Sports guys can hang. Like, they're not like guys that you're afraid to bring around your friends if your friends like to have a good time. So this crew meshed incredibly well. Like, guys like Dickie Gass and Louie and Nicky Juice and Fubi Lou and all these guys. They meshed incredibly well. We had such a great time. We were out all day, all night after the game. Not going to get into particulars about what happened after the game, because, I'm still very happily married and I intend to keep it that way. But just an incredible, incredible experience that was. And then number one would probably be the Breezy in New York. The first Breezy I went to in New York. That was a really, really special time. A really good event. To have my one buddy Nicky there with me, and mixing it up with those guys and spending the whole day really doing, something like that was just very special. So I would say the Breezy would be number one.
Beautiful. I think that's a very good top three, especially on short notice. Could you maybe tell the viewers how to connect with you, follow, support what you're doing? Any plugs that you want to kind of share here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Brilliantly Dumb Show podcast, that's on YouTube, Brilliantly Dumb Show. Check out the YouTube page, click like, subscribe for that. Bob Does Sports, obviously, we're all one big family under the Breezy umbrella. So Bob Does Sports, if you haven't watched that, those guys are blowing up like you wouldn't believe, golfing with, J.J. Watt and John Rahm and all this insanity. So check that out. And then for me personally, Bear Down Cuz on Instagram, Bear Down Cuz on Twitter. If you're a sports gambler, you're a workout person, you're a dad, you're just a guy living the everyday life, check out my subscription service. I do give 10 picks a week during football season at minimum. It's under $5 to sign up for that a month. It pays for itself, I would say, within the first week. I had a winning week this week. We're going to try and continue on that pace. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you chatting with us. Again, if you're tuning in, I'm sorry that if you came thinking you'd see Paige, but I hope that if you stuck around this long, then you surely enjoyed hearing from Mikey V. So go ahead, connect with him down below, follow what he's doing, and all those links will be down in the description. But Mikey, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. I know you're a busy guy.
No, I appreciate it anytime, and thanks for having me. It was a great time.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Mikey V. Bear Down Cuz. His links will be down in the description. But we really appreciate Mikey V coming onto the show, talking about working with Bobby Fairways, Joey Coldcuts, being a co-host of the Brilliantly Dumb Show, being the first official Breezy Golf ambassador. This was a fun episode to make. Mikey V is a awesome follow on social media. And if you're not currently listening to the Brilliantly Dumb Show, it's an amazing podcast. All that will be linked down in the description. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Again, I'm Dougie from the Golf Clan. This is your home for YouTube golf news. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. If you could please give it a like, that would tell YouTube that you enjoy this content, allow me to make more videos, better videos, and continue pumping out YouTube golf content. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.